Hi there, Karen Flaherty from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to be talking about the gate 37, which is usually called the gate of community, can also be called peace and harmony. And of course, that's what we're all hoping for. So we've got the sun in gate 37, which, as I said, is typically called the gate of community. It started this morning, February 24th. It goes until March 1st, almost midnight. And then the earth is in the gate 40, which is called the gate of aloneness. So the two of these together create an entire channel called the channel of community. And so we've got the 37 here, down coming off the solar plexus. And we got the 40 here, which is coming off the will center. And so together they will create definition all week in the will center and the solar plexus. In addition to that, we also have the head center defined again with the 6124, the head and the ajna defined all week. And so all four of these centers will be defined all week. The will and the solar plexus will be defined through March 1st when these two gates go away in the sun and the earth. And then the 6124 will continue, I think, for a few more days. But they will both be, all four of them will be defined all week for people. And as I said before, it does make, opinions and negotiations and things like that a little more difficult because people do tend to have strong opinions and strong points of view, and they're not really willing to look at other perspectives, as we can see with the, unfortunate start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine this morning. So we'll see how that plays out over the next few days. What I was hoping was that this gate of community, or I should say what I was hoping was that the gate of community would come in before the need to go to war. Community is really all about family and friendship. In the original I Ching, it's also called the gate of peace and harmony. It's really about coming together in a way that allows for the common good, that allows everyone to thrive, not just some people. And so in the Human Design book, it says the manifestation, macro and microcosmically, of the organic nature of communities. In other words, coming together, forming communities, whether it's at a very micro level, just maybe 10 houses or something like that in a cul-de-sac, or a much larger community. That's what this gate is all about. It's about bringing those communities together and having everyone thrive. It's really not about divisions. And in the IHDS, the incarnation crosses this week are the crosses of planning, bargains, and migration. And then in the gate 40, which is in the earth, we've got the gate of called aloneness. It's also called deliverance in the original I Ching, or aloneness. And this is the point of transition between struggle and liberation. And so what this gate is about is about seeing yourself almost as, kind of the lone wolf in a pack of coyotes or something. It's just like you feel like you're the odd man out, right? When everybody else is seeming to get along or get together or, have something to talk about, you're the odd man out and you don't really have anything much to say, or you just don't feel like you're part of the group. And so this aloneness can come up in some people, especially when they have the gate 40. And especially this week when the transits are in, that you might feel like you don't have a lot in common with other people. But the whole reason for this gate is to help us get closer to and be almost ejected into the community so that we can feel like we're more part of the community and that we're, more of the peace and harmony and goodwill that would come with a thriving community. So that's the idea of aloneness. It's really just to get us out of our shell and into the community that we're meant to be a part of. In the Gene Keys, exhaustion is the shadow here, resolve is the gift, and divine will is the CD. So in Gene Key 37, we've got the shadow is weakness, the gift is equality, and the CD is tenderness. And Richard says here, the more you give, the more you receive. And this, again, as I was saying, this whole idea is that the more we have a thriving community, the more we have equality, which is the gift, in terms of not a matriarchy, not a patriarchy, but an equality, basically a system that's equal, right? A system of equality that works for everybody. So no divisions, no condescension, no weakness, as he calls it in the shadow. This weakness is not so much about strength anymore, but in the past, people were, we all think of survival of the fittest, right? That only the fit will survive, that only the strong will survive. And so this weakness is the shadow here. But the shadow is such that there are people who take advantage of the weakness, right? And so some people with this shadow weakness would feel like they're, or could show up as being, or at least he calls it the repressive nature, is where they show up as being over sentimental, for example. And that is considered by others to be a weakness, right? And then some people, again, with the shadow in the reactive nature, show up as cruel. And you can imagine how the cruel people might take advantage of the over sentimental people, right? The over sentimental people might, feel like they can't say anything, that they'd be too emotional. And don't forget, this gate does come off the emotional solar plexus, that they might be too emotional. They might be too much, taking care of the community, protecting the community, and too over sentimental about it. Whereas whether it's the patriarchy or some other authority or religion perhaps comes in and says, no, we'll take care of you. But they're actually cruel and condescending and not very protective and not very helpful, really. And so you can see how this dynamic plays out as the shadow here, and it doesn't serve anyone. Whereas with the gift, when the gift becomes equality allows that, it's not just men, it's not just women, it's not just any gender, really, because this gift allows for equality of all, equality of no matter what's going on. And actually it moves away from the boundaries and the definitions of the previous way we used to think about community. And so actually, Richard says, the family unit is the most powerful crucible of love through which humanity will be transformed. And that can be your own family, it can be an extended family, it can be people you think of as family. And he says in the future, family will no longer be an isolated tribal phenomenon, because this is part of the tribal circuit also, but they will become a collective breath pattern that unites all human beings. And this is the future that is coming. And so that's an interesting way to look at it. And then the CD is tenderness. He describes the tenderness as if it's a tenderness of a parent and a child that gets extended to the community. So wouldn't that be a nice way? Or, it sounds a little airy-fairy, a little Pollyanna-ish. But what he means there is that this tenderness is coming from the heart. This tenderness has no agenda. And so it's able to be basically unconditional love for everyone in the community, whoever that is, and basically extending to unity, a unity consciousness that evolves to everyone. That might be somewhere quite far in the future, or it could be much sooner. We don't know, but it's what he's suggesting that we strive for. So this week in the incarnation crosses, we got the right angle cross of planning, the juxtaposition cross of bargains. We also call this the shopping channel. This 3740 does like to shop and look for really good bargains. And then the left angle cross of migration. So we've got people like Ralph Nader, Elizabeth Taylor, Josh Groban, John Steinbeck, the writer, Tony Robbins and Brenda Burchard, the motivational speakers. So I'll just mention, most motivational speakers have the will center defined. They can be all different types of energy types, but they will usually have the will center defined. So this definitely makes for someone who can get up and do the motivational talks that lots of people run to. Roger Daltrey, Adele Davis, who was a nutritionist, Justin Bieber, Chelsea Clinton, and Chelsea Handler. And so a lot of different energy types, but all would just imagine all of them would have had the will center defined as well as the emotional solar plexus defined. It's right up in their incarnation cross. And so just knowing when they were born, or, that they were born in the gate 37 as their sun gate. And sorry, forgot to change that again. They would have had the will center defined as well as the solar plexus. It's a given. And then this week in history, we've got a few different things. Bell Labs happened to be where my father worked, and actually my mother for a while too, and my brother in New Jersey. And this was a place where the first microchip was created for cell phones and all the devices that we use these days. The first microchips were developed there, and then sold to Silicon Valley. And so Bell Labs obviously made some money at one point, but they probably wish they had held on to them at this point. Anyway, they introduced a new way to end the fluttering of the television image in 1928. In 1918, the 16th Amendment to the Constitution was adopted, and that basically started income taxes. And I mention this because this is something that, it could have happened on any date, but it happened on, during the gate 37. And so I just mentioned that because it definitely is about money. It's part of the tribal circuit, and it's part of the, we also call it the channel of agreements. And so it's not just about the tribal aspect of it, it's about the business aspect of it as well. And on February 26th in 1993, there was a bombing at the World Trade Center. That was the predecessor to the 2001 bombing on 9/11. 5 people were killed at that point in 1993. And in 1951, the 22nd Amendment was added to the Constitution, limiting the presidency to 2 terms. In 1991, the coalition forces liberated Kuwait after 7 months of occupation by the Iraqi army. That was Desert Storm. And in 1988, Debbie Thomas became the first African-American to win a medal at the Winter Olympics. February 29th in 1952, the first pedestrian walk, don't walk signs were installed at 44th Street and Broadway at Times Square. And this is very much a community thing, right? Those don't walk signs were a big deal when they came into creation, especially in the big cities, and probably saved a lot of lives. So that's definitely a big, community effort to make sure that the community is thriving. And on March 1st in 1875, Congress passed the Civil Rights Act, which was then invalidated by the Supreme Court in 1883, and then wasn't passed again into law until 1964. So that was quite a while later, almost 80 years later. So this week, be aware of, as I said at the beginning, this gate 37 is also called community, but it's also peace and harmony. And I know that I'm intending that we Russians come to a peaceful ending to this war, and that it doesn't escalate to what some people are predicting. I'm hoping that because it's in this gate, there will be a coalition that will assist the Ukrainians in a peaceful ending, and and it's probably a good week for all of us to strive to incorporate the idea of community in whatever community you're in that makes sense, whether it's in an apartment building or a town or a community of any sort. This is a good week to suggest things as a community, to come together perhaps, to see if there's a way to embrace the community that you're in a way that makes sense for you. So I hope you have a great week and be well, and I will see you next time. Take care.